everyone, welcome. My name is Kelly and I'm an indoor hydroponic gardener. I also have an outdoor raised bed garden that's new to me this year because we moved into a house, and this is actually my first hydroponic tour that I've done in months because I just set the systems back up a few months ago. Well, I set up one of my gardens a few months ago, and this is kind of the progress so far. I do have a second garden, and I'll give you guys a quick shot so you can see the new setup because they are no longer side by side, kind of like where they are in the house. I'll show you guys that. And I will show you the garden behind me. It is going to be really bright. I'm still trying to figure out why the lighting is so bright. I don't know. I've tried a lot of different angles. It's my camera. It's focusing on me, which is great. But we will look at the actual plants, and I'll take myself out of it so that you guys can actually see. Because if I kind of move over here, you can get a better view of the bottom row, which looks really plain right now. Well, the whole thing's kind of empty. I actually am supposed to have a pepper down here. I have a tomato. We'll talk about in a second, but I'm having a tough time getting that pepper to germinate, which I've never had trouble with. So all of a sudden that's an issue. But that's okay. So I'll show you guys what I'm doing with the pepper as well. It's up in a nursery and I have it on top of my gardens to try and give it some heat. So we'll talk about that in a second. But let me show you guys a quick look of where the gardens are in our new house. Okay, so here's the first garden. And to the right would be our hallway to the front door. And then to the left would be the living room space. It just looks really dark in here right now because I have a lot of doors closed. And then if I turn around, on the opposite wall is my other garden. Okay, so this one's not running right now, and I'll talk about why in just a second. But that's kind of where the new setup is. So I have curtains up top, and I'll flip back around. Won't flip anymore, I promise. And this one has curtains too, but I'm finding that these curtains are not very good at blocking out the light. So I might have to get dark green ones like I have for the other one. All right, let's take a quick look at the garden. Okay, so if you've seen any of my other hydroponic garden tours, this might look somewhat similar. I do grow food that we are going to eat, but I do like to experiment, and I actually have 2 new plants growing in this system right now. So we'll talk about that in a second. Actually, it would be 3 if I could get the one to germinate. So up here in my nursery, I have a pepper plant. I'll just check on them. I mean, I don't really see anything. They said it could take upwards of 10 days for them to germinate. This is a dwarf bell pepper called Purple Beauty from Pine Tree Seeds, which is a seed company I've used quite frequently. And I triple checked, and it said that this pepper doesn't, well, and I don't know if this is true for all peppers. I've never had this issue before. I usually just put them in my nursery under the lights. But it says that this pepper does not need light to germinate, and that is true for some seeds too, like spinach. I can just put in the fridge in a wet paper towel and it'll germinate. And it doesn't get much light in there. So I normally have it under the light, but this is my 3rd attempt, and the other 2 attempts I couldn't get it to germinate. So now I have it up here on the heat. So the lights are actually pretty warm, so the top of this gets, well, pretty warm. So I'm hoping that this will help those germinate because it'd be really cool to have a dwarf bell pepper, especially one that's purple. And that's what's meant to go on the bottom shelf here, which is about, well, I think the gap is roughly 18 inches. So it would fit pretty well there. Right now I have my cucumber, and this is the mini me cucumber. However, I did buy a new parthenocarpic cucumber that we're going to try. So I want to give another cucumber a shot because I've grown this one a lot. It tastes good. I really like it. I'm super successful with it. But it'd be cool to try a different variety, and I'll update you guys on that one once we plant it, and we'll try that one after this one. And then on the second row, which again, I'll show you guys a close-up in just a second, I have a lettuce, which technically shouldn't be growing in this garden. It should go in the other garden because this garden is going to be specifically for flowering plants, which flowering plants need generally a higher EC, different nutrient requirements. Leafy greens are better with just higher nitrogen. They don't need as much phosphorus and potassium, but flowering plants generally need those other 2 things. And again, they generally need more nutrients, especially like heavy feeders like tomatoes and peppers. But I don't have my other garden running right now because I have my outdoor garden, which I'll show you guys right here on the screen a quick picture of. Right now in that garden, we just finished harvesting tons of green beans that I've preserved by blanching and freezing them. And then I also right now have broccoli, which I'm not sure is going to go anywhere because it was shaded out so bad. Squash, carrots, basil, which I normally have growing with my lettuce inside, and some sugar snap peas. So, and I also direct sowed some other seeds out there like lettuce, spinach, etc. So that other garden that's on the other wall that I showed you guys, that garden would be what I call like, maybe I might call it from now on my lettuce garden. That's going to be the garden where I would have lettuce, herbs, and then maybe on the bottom like celery or something. I haven't quite decided what I'm going to grow in that one yet. And I will start that once it gets really cold outside. But back to this garden. So this garden is specifically set up for flowering foods. So like tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, that's the main thing I grow in this garden. I'm actually going to lower you guys a little bit so you can see it a little better. And then we'll get a close up as well. Okay, so down here I have 2 red robin plants. So these are really dwarf plants. They only get about yay big, and they're a cherry tomato. They're similar to like the mini Siam, but I think that they actually taste better. I don't play around much with cherry tomatoes because these produce so many cherry tomatoes. I find I don't need a different plant. There's another one back there that I'm going to talk about in a second. That's a jalapeno. I'm really excited about this. It's a dwarf jalapeno, and I'll show you guys that one in a second. I have another lettuce down on the bottom shelf, and then I have a new dwarf tomato Roma. If you see my videos before, you know I'm trying to find a dwarf Roma. This one's looking good so far, so let's see. All right, let's take a close-up look really fast. Okay, let's start with the cucumber, and then I'm going to show you guys the pepper seed that I'm trying to germinate. So this is the mini-me cucumber. Like I said, it's parthenocarpic, which means it doesn't require pollination. And I've had this one going for a couple weeks now, and it's really taking off. It has a slow start, but then once it gets more leaves, it really starts to, to take off. So I usually keep 2 leaders. So you can kind of see that this will turn into a vine back here, and then this one will here. And I usually also will pluck off some of these smaller cucumbers at the start just to give it, to force it to focus on actually growing more leaves and more stem. But I do love the mini-me. It'll take over this entire top level, which is why it's the only thing growing up here. Up in the nursery, this is the pepper I was talking about. So this is the bell pepper that you can see the germination days up to 2 weeks. So this is what I'm trying to get to germinate, and I'm having a heck of a time. I am going to give it this 14 days. The first time it got so much algae on it because the pod, the pods are wet, and the growing medium, I'll show you guys this. I put the seeds in there, and I made the smallest hole possible, but this opening was just covered in algae. And then the seed molded. And I did try to also put it in a bag and get it to grow up here, and that didn't work because the seed was already kind of done. But anyway, this is the one I'm trying to get to grow, and it's the one that I'm also going to put down here once it grows. Okay, on our second row, I have 2 red robins. These are the dwarf cherry tomato, and they take up pretty much 1 entire tray. So I don't fill up my gardens too much. They're not packed, because something always suffers in hydroponics when they're packed like that, and I find I get a better yield of the plants I have. And this guy is already growing flowers. So you can see that these are a pretty stunted plant. I mean, this is only 12 inches, but it will get bigger than this. I'll show you guys what in our next garden tour what it looks like. It definitely will quadruple in size, but it still doesn't get huge, which is nice. I do have a Paris Island Cos here. This is my favorite romaine lettuce. We are going to try some other lettuces, though. I have a couple seeds of different kinds, but I wanted to go with the Old Faithful for me, which is this one, just because we haven't had fresh lettuce in a while. We ran out of the stuff I stored from before, and I'd like to, you know, make sure what we grow works. So I put this one in here, and I do have a second one down there. And these get pretty big too. So these will actually grow and fill at least half of this tray. So again, I sometimes will put other mini romaines in here, and I probably will, but I don't like to overcrowd the system. Now this one I'm super excited about, guys. So this is a dwarf jalapeno. It only gets 12 inches tall. I'm so excited. I know it says spaced 12 apart. That's not the height. It actually is 12 inches. I've seen other people grow it. I've looked it up. And I had no trouble germinating this, which is really funny. Same company, right? Yeah, same company, no issues germinating this. I have one of these outside, but I think it just got too shaded, and I don't think it's going to do much. It does have some fruit on it, but yeah, the one outside is only this tall, and it has like peppers on it. And it's a jalapeno pepper, and the peppers grow to a regular size. Not like a popper size. They're not jumbo jalapenos, but it'd be really cool to find a jalapeno plant that would fit on this shelf, because I find that these two cherry tomatoes are enough in the cherry tomato realm. So that would be really awesome to have something else go here and free up my space down here, which is right here. So again, we have another Parasilane Cos. This again is not even full grown. You can see how big it gets. My plan is to put my pepper in here once it germinates. And then this is the new tomato. I'm actually gonna sit down. Okay, so this is our new dwarf tomato. So I did some research on it before I bought it and then after, and it gets about 2 to 3 feet tall, which might be a little big for the system. So like this space here is only roughly 18 inches. However, I've had success growing tomatoes out the side, but I would have to kind of like pull my curtain back a little bit, which is fine. So this is a Roma. But I then read that it could be indeterminate, so I put a question mark there, which means it could get bigger. So I don't know. I don't know if it stops at 2 feet, and then it could be indeterminate, so it goes a little higher. But it's pretty small, and it has 4 to 6 ounce fruit. They're definitely some sort of like Roma, because I looked up the pictures, and these don't really matter because I'm growing it in a hydroponic system. But it germinated really well. And so far, it looks really good. I haven't had much success with the dwarf Romas so far. So I'm really hoping this one does okay. I don't see any flowers yet, but that's okay. Not to be expected at this size. But I also have at least 3 or 4 other dwarf tomatoes we're going to try in the hydroponic system. So stay tuned. This is the first one we're trying. I'll let you guys, I'll do a new updated tomato video too, because I've done those a couple times, but I wanted to have more that I've tested out. All right, so that's the system. Let's go ahead and wrap up this tour. All right, everybody. So I know that was kind of a quick tour, but I just wanted to show you that I'm still doing hydroponics and things are still happening. And I'm really excited because I am trying out some new varieties. And I think the one I'm the most excited about, honestly, is this dwarf jalapeno, because I think it'd be really cool to have a small jalapeno in here. I'm actually going to put a quick picture up on the screen of the jalapeno I normally grow, and it gets massive. It's great. Produces a ton of jalapenos, and the picture I'm putting up should be from the last one I had or the one before that, but they all look roughly the same. But they just get massive. So it would be really cool to reserve that bottom space for something else like a bell pepper. That'd be really cool, because my doggie, who is right here, that is Sylvie. Hi, Sylvie. So we feed her. She loves veggies. The only veggie she won't eat is lettuce, which is kind of funny. So we give her peppers. We eat a lot of bell peppers. Well, we give her bell peppers. We eat a lot of bell peppers. So it'd be cool to be able to grow one inside. I'm going to grow them outside in the summer next year, but over the winter, it'd be nice to find one that would work in here in the garden. All right, everybody, so that was our tour for this month. I do try to do hydroponic tours once a month. And if I don't release a hydroponic tour, I've tried to do some other kind of hydroponic video. We'll see how it goes with this new setup because I'm not going to always have both systems running. Like in the summertime, we might only have one going for lettuce. You know, like right now I still only have one because I have food outside. So there is a chance that my garden tours will be shorter, which I think is fine, but I won't have both systems running. So keep that in mind, but I do try to do garden tours every 1 to 2 months. So stay tuned for those. All right, everyone, thanks so much. See you next time.